Hey everybody, it's Content Chat, even though we're not recording it on Monday at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, because we're at CEX as this is going live. And if you don't know what the Content Entrepreneur Expo is, CEX in Cleveland, and you're not there with Joe and I, you are missing out on so much. And we're going to give you lots of FOMO over the next 30 minutes or so as we talk about how self-publishing a book benefits your thought leadership, because you may have heard a little bit about this book that Joe put together with 33 of his friends, including me. So, Joe, welcome to Content Chat. This is probably like your fourth time on Content
I
Chat.
I think it is. But
First video one, though.
this is the first video one, which so it's different. I gotta prepare myself
Yeah, you're not
for
having to
like
type like a fiend while looking at a Twitter feed.
well, and it's probably better because I'm really not on Twitter anymore. So this
Same.
works out. This works out a lot better. But yes, yeah, we're at the event. I get to see you in person, which is awesome. We get to, we're doing a big signing for the Content Entrepreneur book, and we're very excited about the whole thing. And thank you for your 3 amazing chapters
My pleasure. And
in
I
the
have a
book.
special pen. I am like ready for the signing. Got my
Yes.
Hello Kitty pen.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're it's gonna be great because we're gonna do, I don't know, 25 special editions with all the authors' signature on them and giving them away. It's gonna be great.
It's going to be
Anyway,
so much
yeah.
fun. So yeah, if you're watching this and you're not at CEX sneaking this on your phone, I'm really sorry that you're not there enjoying it with us.
Well, that better come next year. So
Exactly.
there you go.
So let's dive right in
Sure.
and let's talk a little bit about when it's the right time for a content entrepreneur or a creator to write a book. Like what can it help you do for your business and just in general? Like why should you? When should you?
Well, I think it depends on your overall goals, first of all. And then, by the way, this whole conversation is couched in that. Like, what are your goals, whether you work for a brand or whether you're on your own as a content entrepreneur? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? Is this, you really want to do this thing full time? But regardless, if you want to grow your consultancy, if you have an agency, if you're a marketer, uh, what do you want to be known for? And whatever that is that you want to be known for, I'm pretty sure you're going to need a book.
It's
And
true.
I didn't realize this. So I've been, and as you know, you and I have known each other like 15 years now. But
Yeah.
before I started 20 years, I didn't know how important a book was. And when I published my first book, Get Content, Get Customers, co-written with Newt Barrett, the opportunities open, these unexpected opportunities open that I never would have thought would happen, where I was getting speaking invitations from overseas. I'm like, how did you even find out about me? Oh, you wrote that we bought this book. And I'm like, wow, I didn't expect that. Or getting, in the time when I launched that book, I was doing mostly consulting, actually getting unsolicited requests for consult, like that wouldn't have happened unless
Yeah.
I had a book. And I don't know what it is. I mean, we could talk about, lots of smarter people than I am will say, oh, this is the importance of having a book. I can tell you firsthand that if I didn't have a book, and as you know, I publish a book, or I try to publish a book every 2 years. If I didn't have that as sort of the centerpiece for moving forward with, okay, I have a blog, of course, and I have an email newsletter, but what I take out for show and tell is generally this book, and it's the best business card that you could ever have. And when you have a very short time to make an impact on a person, you say, oh, this is what I stand for. This is what I believe. And if somebody reads that, you probably already sold them. If it's a good book, which
Yep.
hopefully everyone listening to this or watching this, you're going to create a good book around a content niche that you really believe in. And they're going to read that. And it's the best sales tool you could have. Now, we can talk in a little bit about all the other benefits, but just as the centerpiece of building the business, because we had Get Content, Get Customers. And then Robert Rose and I wrote Managing Content Marketing.
Yep.
And then Epic Content Marketing was sort of the book that helped launch Content Marketing Institute.
Yep.
I'm like, where would that business have happened? Would Content Marketing World have happened? Would all these things have happened if I didn't have the book? I don't think it would have. So I don't know if I can rave anymore about. So when's the time to answer your question? When's the right time? If you want to be a thought leader, if you're a content creator, if you have a content business of some kind, you probably need to put it into the strategy somewhere into
Yeah.
the time frame of, oh, I'm doing, whether you're writing blogs or it's a blog to book strategy or an email newsletter to book strategy, put it there somewhere, because the technology exists today that you could do this fairly easily and very much under your control, and then have something to go out with your wonderful fans and say, please support me with this. And I think you'll see a big uptick in your business if you do it that way.
I wonder if it's because it makes it show that you have like a commitment to your topic, that you're serious enough about it, and that you believe in it enough that you actually took the time to put together a book. Because so many people call themselves experts and they'll pop up, on a new topic every few weeks on social media. And so you can't really take some of the folks seriously. But if you put a book together,
Yeah.
70,000 words on a topic, you must be serious about it, at
I
least a
think
little
you're
bit.
Well, I think you're right. I think it creates a moat, right? There is a little bit of a jumping around or over to get to the point where you have a book. The same thing goes with an event. I've been doing events for a long time, and if you do an event out there, people know, oh man, this is serious. Like
Yeah.
you have lots of logistics, lots of costs. You put a down payment on the room, like you've got food and beverage. That's a thing. The
Yeah.
same thing goes for the fact that, oh yeah, you put this book, you wrote a 70,000 word manuscript, you had it professionally edited, you had multiple reviewers, you went and laid this thing out, you have a wonderful design on your cover, you're
You have
distributing
the
it how, yeah.
ISBN number.
Exactly, you're doing all the things. And a lot of people don't do that. If you just say, oh, I have a blog, I have a newsletter, I have a TikTok channel, I have a YouTube channel, that's great. But I don't know if that does enough for your credibility, depending again what your goals are, to really take that jump in your business model.
Mhm. And it's interesting to me because, you've written so many books, and I have all of your books
Thank you.
somewhere in this
You're so sweet.
office. Most of them signed by you too. Um, it's interesting to me that you've kind of decided that now is the right time to really you didn't just self-publish, you're not just self-publishing the latest book, but it's kind of the linchpin of this whole new Tilt Publishing imprint that you're putting together with Lulu. And I'd love to hear, first, like, what made you go, hey, you know what? I want to do this self-publishing route. I have some thoughts about why maybe, but what
Sure.
made you decide that this was something that would be really helpful and valuable to do?
It honestly, the new direction comes mostly out of frustration with what's happening in the book publishing business, specifically for nonfiction writers. And I've wrote a fiction novel, but I've written mostly nonfiction books, 8, either with wonderful people like yourself and Robert Rose, or by myself. As I've seen this model sort of deteriorate, and I've been lucky to self-publish, so Get Content, Get Customers was originally self-published. I was able to get a book deal with McGraw-Hill and a couple after that with Epic Content Marketing and Content Inc. Epic Content, let's go back to 10 years ago. It still worked fairly well. I mean, you work with a traditional publisher, they give you really good distribution, they put it as part of their sales network. It can work fairly well. Well, you know what? McGraw-Hill, at least the division that I was working with, isn't around anymore because that's not profitable for them. Wiley, when I got started 10, 15 years ago, they have a very different model now. So if you look at publishing with a, let's say, traditional or somewhat traditional publisher, the terms for the author are, I would say, difficult at best. And I'm not saying that there aren't really good independent publishers out there, but it is really a challenge. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
somebody that you're thinking about, oh, I'm going to get an agent and I'm going to go find a publisher and they're going to promote the heck out of this thing, that's a 1% of 1% thing going on right now. It is very, very challenging. And by the way, if you get those kind of deals, that's great. I mean, you're not necessarily getting any customer data off of it, but I'm assuming somebody's giving you a big advance and it's driving business opportunities in other ways, and good for you. But the model that I used in 2013, it doesn't exist for most content creators today. And so I was like, okay, well, what's going on? Well, you've got, and I don't want, this is not like an Amazon bashing session, but they have a lot of control over what gets sold and what doesn't.
Yeah.
They have their own algorithm, they have control over it. It changes on an ongoing basis, and you can sell books or not sell books. based on whether Amazon promotes it. And the other thing, dirty little secret that a lot of people don't want to talk about is when authors hit like best-selling rankings on their different categories, they're usually spending a ton of money with Amazon. They're actually buying a lot of ads to make sure they show up in the Amazon results, and people aren't talking about that. So
Yeah.
great. Yeah. If you want to spend lots and lots and lots of money with Amazon, you will sell books on Amazon. Just like if you, buy ads on Facebook or Google, at some point, you're going to sell your stuff. So it got to a point of, what if you're a content creator and you've built an audience and you want your fans, your super fans, to buy your book? Okay, well, let's go back to, if I had a deal with McGraw-Hill, or if I want to, let's just say, self-publish with an Amazon.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm like going to say, okay, Joe Pulizzi's got a new book out. That's wonderful. It goes to, let's say, my webpage. I talk a little bit about it, and then it says buy here. You click that button. You know where it goes? Somewhere else. It goes to Amazon or Kobo or Barnes and Noble, all, great private companies, and they're doing fairly well. Wonderful. But they set the price. You could set your price all you want as an author. They will set the price. And you know what you don't see? You don't even know who buys that. The data for that deal is sent to Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and Kobo, or whoever else. So your super fan, who you've been, let's say, sending a wonderful newsletter to for a year or 2 years, and they become to know, like, and trust you on your content niche, and they go to your site and you immediately direct them away, and you never even know if they buy your book.
Or if they
And
buy
I'm
a
like,
bunch of them and give them to all of their friends, you have no idea.
you have no idea. And if you're a serious content marketer, or if you're a serious content entrepreneur, data, the information about your customer, is what runs your entire business, like long term. And by the way, this is not just a content business. This is any business.
Yeah.
You need to have data on your customers if you are going to launch new products, if you want to figure out methods to keep them loyal. You need to know who these people are. And that's why you and I have talked forever about, hey, there's no problem if you want to build an audience, whatever an audience is, on TikTok or YouTube or Instagram. That's fine. But you got to remember, not your audience.
That's right.
That's not your data. Those companies are letting you rent that data. And hopefully when you wake up in the morning, you still have access to it. So long story short, I was getting very nervous that the book publishing business for nonfiction writers was turning into the same thing that social media. It's like, oh, my content goes to Amazon and all these other companies. I don't get any data. I get no pricing power, and I get pennies on the dollar from those companies and royalties.
Yep.
And I'm like, there's got to be a better way. Kind of like, I think email newsletters are a better way than Instagram channel, because at least I know who those email newsletter subscribers are, and I have somewhat control over when I want to communicate with them, because they've opted in and given me permission to do that.
Yep.
So here we are. We ended up creating Tilt Publishing, that we just launched last month, because we believe that authors, content creators should have control over the publishing process. So we just want to say, hey, let's just get this thing up and running, and let's get you the data. Let's sell from your site. Let's just get the book out there so that you can sell directly. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't sell on Amazon or these other things, but I'm just saying there are options that exist that, since these other models, McGraw-Hill and the way Wiley used to be, and some of these old publishers, since those models don't exist, what do we have now? And Amazon isn't the only option. There are different ways to do it. And if you care about growing your content business, you should probably take a look at it.
So talk to me a little bit about how the Tilt imprint, though, because that's a very specific thing. And it's part of lulu.com, but it is a different offering. So I'd love to understand a little bit about how it differs, because I think that would be really helpful for folks.
Yeah. So a lot of people, you may or may not know Lulu. So print on demand publisher. And they print more titles than you'd ever know of, because if somebody writes a memoir and they want to create 20 copies for their family, they can just go to Lulu. Lulu will print them on demand, and it's wonderful. Well, we saw the problem happening with a lot of content creators is they're building their audience, they're building some super fans, but they also feel like we just talked about the importance of writing a book. Well, there's lots of things that need to happen when you write a book. You need to figure out, okay, I really do need this professionally edited. I need it proofread. I need it laid out in a certain manner. I want to make sure that I get this designed the correct way inside and outside the publication. I want to make sure I get my distribution set up. There's things to do. And there's a lot of content creators that I was talking to out there that were like, oh, I'm staying away from the book publishing process because it's a book and it's very hard to do. And so we're like, okay, well, we've got these creators that already have an audience. We're like, oh, this is perfect, because if we can help them take the last 10% of that journey. So let's say you have a final manuscript, you send it to Tilt Publishing, which is this part of Lulu, where we will take it and we will help you finalize that book, make it an incredible book experience for your super fans, and then help you set up your website so you can actually sell directly. Now, we're not forcing you to sell directly. We want you to. We absolutely want you to, because that's the whole mission of this thing working. Is we don't just want to create another product for you as a content creator where you have no control over that. We want you to create a product, this book, this amazing experience for your audience that's going to position you as a wonderful expert, that you're going to get your customer data and you can sell directly off your website, whether that's ebook, whether that's in print, or whether that's an audiobook, whatever, and do that in that direct fashion. And I got to tell you, Erika, I didn't know a thing about it. When I got started, I only knew of, I can self-publish a book and I can upload it to Amazon or Barnes & Noble or Kobo, which I've done before.
Yep.
Fine. Or I work with McGraw-Hill, a traditional publisher, and they do all that for me. And every quarter, I get a royalty check.
Yep.
Which, if you wanted like the easiest model on the planet for an author, that's great. And you might get a little bit, if you get the deal at all, you might get a little bit of money. But I told somebody this the other day. I think maybe you heard one of the interviews. So Content Inc., which has probably been my most popular book, if there has been one, it came out in 2015. And then I redid another version in 21 if I'm looking at the data correctly, in print and audiobook form and ebook, I've sold over 100,000 copies.
That's so awesome.
Of all this, which is a rare feat. A lot. And I'm very happy about that. And I've got a wonderful group of people that support me. I don't have one name. Of who bought it. I know you bought it.
Yep.
I know lots of people who bought it, but I don't have the data. I don't have it says that Erika bought this. I have this name. She's opted into my newsletter. I don't have any of that stuff. And I'm trying to think back now as my business model as a content creator has changed. I wonder if that 100,000 was not 100,000 sales to nobody that I know that I have this data for. What if it was 10,000 people of an audience that I know, that I sold directly to, and I have a direct relationship with, and I can remarket to continue to grow my business? I wonder if that's better. And actually, I think it is. So I'm almost thinking, like, do you want your content out there for a bunch of people that you don't know, or do you want to serve your super fans with something and you know that you're actually selling to them and you have pricing power as well? You can sell, like with the Content Entrepreneur that we're selling directly, we're charging $25 for a paperback, and it's $25, and we're giving it away free shipping because we can.
Yep.
And we can do whatever we want with people that are buying from the US. And if I put that on Amazon, I can tell you that in 2 days, that book's going to be $17.29. And then I'd get 10 or whatever percent of that, which it's not really about. And by the way, this is not about, you can make money as an author. Absolutely. And we're doing it. And as you know, all the proceeds are going to charity, which is wonderful. But this is about figuring out your business model as a content creator, what's important, how important is data, and this is for your fans. You're creating something, you're creating a product that you believe that your super fans are going to want. It's going to do all kinds of great things for your business. So why send them to other places? Why not send them direct? So long story short, as I told you before we started this thing, I just ramble and just talk about everything. I believe that the long-term mission of a content creator who wants to be a content entrepreneur, this type of Tilt Publishing imprint. I think it's important. I don't know of one right now that's out there that helps content creators get their books into shape and then says, hey, we're going to help you sell directly. We're not taking royalties. It's like you pay us for services. We're going to get this professionally done. You're going to absolutely love it. Your fans are going to love it. You're going to sell directly. And now you have a key piece to your business model that's going to fuel your model for a long, long time to come.
Well, it's interesting because, as we've been talking, there are a few things that really kind of stand out to me. And, one of the first ones is this model really reduces a lot of the friction because, like most content creators who've spent their whole lives writing, I have like 3 or 4 book proposals and outlines sitting online. Of course I do. Everyone does, right? And it just always felt too overwhelming to either go out there and pitch myself to an agent and to pitch myself, then to a publisher and all of that. It felt like too much. But at the same time, going into a self-publishing process on my own and doing all the things, that felt like too much too. So it feels like this really takes a lot of the friction away and makes it so much more approachable.
For now that I've gone through the process, it does take some work to get there. Like you have to set up your site for e-commerce, which by the way is not difficult to do, but it's a different way of thinking. Like a lot of authors haven't done that before. So you have to do that. So great. You have to make sure that you've got your integration set with, if you've got WordPress and WooCommerce and Shopify and all those types of things. And if you have really smart people that are working with you, and of course, that's why Tilt Publishing exists in a lot of ways, that's great. But the wonderful thing is I can send an email, which we just did, right? We send an email to the people that follow us. It says, hey, we got a new book out. They're going to, they know, like, and trust you. They want to buy this new thing you're offering. They go to your website. They do one click. They click. Now, they don't have the fill it all. It's not filled all in probably because they'll say, oh, Amazon, I could do the one click thing. Yes. Okay. So your customers have to fill in their name and their address, right? And
Which
then
hopefully they know that information.
Hopefully they know that, and they do a credit card thing, but they trust you. So great. So there is a few more things that somebody has to type in. It might take an extra minute, but other than that, that's it. Click, ship. It prints on demand, or you send the ebook directly or the audiobook or whatever, and it's done. You don't have to have another company be involved in that process. Right now, you have a lot of customers that might not be necessarily used to it. The print is easy. The ebook's a little bit different. The audiobook's a little bit different. But I think this is going to be the model going forward that, I don't know, I don't want to say innovative, but forward-looking creators are doing, because it makes sense with their business model. If you look at, like, at CEX, so we're at CEX listening to a lot of amazing content creators. Most of them are talking about, hey, I'm on these social channels, but at the end of the day, I need to make sure I get them to my email newsletter, or my membership site, or my training stuff, because then I can actually identify them as a customer. And that's when the beauty of the business model works. So this works the same way, but your customers they don't have to go somewhere else. I don't think it's very difficult for them, people, to understand how to buy online. I think if you can reduce anything that you can reduce where they have to click again to go somewhere else is only going to benefit you as a creator.
Totally. And I think something also that is really unique to you is you build community. That's like a thing that you do. With content marketing world, it wasn't just an event, it's a community. And the same with how CX is being built. And I think that from a creator standpoint, having the ability to do something like publish on the Tilt imprint, where you become part of this community of creators who are doing this thing, who are going through this process that you can learn from, and kind of have that those conversations and that support. I think that's very different, and then you don't get something like that if you're publishing with a McGraw-Hill.
I think what I've heard, thank you for that, by the way. I think that what I've heard so far is that I'll get somebody reaching out to me. So we have 5 or 6 authors that have already gone through the process, and we've got 5 or 6 that are going through the process right now for Tilt Publishing. But I think what makes them feel comfortable is they'll talk to myself or Austin Church or Katie Brinkley, who've already gone through that process. And they're like, oh, these are content creators that are struggling with the same issues that I am. I'm trying to build an audience, and around that audience, I'm trying to sell consulting or products or whatever. And I want to do this book thing. And I think it makes them feel comfortable where it's not all over the place. It's just, hey, these are content entrepreneurs. These are people like me. And you know that if you have struggles, they can say, Joe, what'd you do about this? What's this? I'm struggling with this, whatever. I mean, I'm so like, for example, as you know, Brian Piper has a book coming out called Epic Content Marketing for Higher Education. I'm thrilled to write the forward to that. If he would have asked Austin Church or Katie Brinkley, they would have said yes too, because we're building this little community to support each other. Nobody's competing with each other. We're all like, rising tide lifts all ships.
Exactly.
That's what we're here to do. And that's why I love our CEX group as well, because we're all supporting each other. So we're successful. So to that point, yes, I feel that this product that we're selling, Tilt Publishing, I think this will work because I think the authors, the creators will see this as more than just, oh, they're going to help me get my book out the door. It's, yeah, we're going to get a great book experience out the door, but you have legions, ultimately, hopefully, of people that want to support you and promote your book and market that. And we'll put it in the Tilt newsletter, and we'll do lots of things to help that. I guess what you got, like, what is community? I think that's community, right? That's community where you get a group of people. They're not competing with each other. They really care about your future. They care about your business, and they want to really help you. And that's what we're trying to build with CEX. And I think that's what we're trying to build with Tilt Publishing as well.
100%. So to kind of to wrap up the conversation for today, so that way folks can, if they're watching this at CX, they can get back to it, or that folks who are watching at home with the maximum FOMO because they're not there. You know, if you're thinking, okay, I'm going to do it. I want to, actually get this together. This is going to be the year I become a published author. What is the first thing, that people should do, or the thing that people need to do just to like get started? Like, where do they start? I know that's a big question.
Well, a book is about having something to say. So what do you have to say? What's the story you want to tell? I'm under the assumption that if you're watching this, you already have plenty to say because you're blogging or you're doing webinars or you are doing e-newsletters or you got a YouTube show or whatever. So I think, great, that's a core part of your content strategy. And you're going to say, okay, well, I'm going to take this to the next level and create the book. What's this? We're talking, I mean, thankfully, we don't have to talk fiction. That's a whole different thing. But if we're talking nonfiction, we're talking, okay, what's the key problem that you're trying to solve for your customers? What's that thing that you can solve better than anyone else? And that's what I want to say. I don't just want you to publish a book for books, because anybody can publish a book today.
Yeah.
And most books sell very few copies. I would like you to create a book that sells a lot of copies. And to do that, you have to find your niche, your topic that only you can do the way you can do it, that really separates you. And it's probably your super fans already know what that is. Why do your super fans, why do you have an audience? Why have they followed you? What are you solving for? What's that book that you can put together and say, wow, this is what I want to be known for. This is the thing. Well, so once you figure that out, which takes a while, as you know, it doesn't come right away. It's like, oh, this is the book. It's an insight. You'll start writing it down, jot down thoughts. Here's the mission. Here's what I think. Here's the key problem. And then one day it's going to solidify. You're going to be boom. That's it. Like for ours is that we want to take you, the hobbyist, so the content entrepreneur. What's the purpose of that? We want to take you, the regular hobbyist content creator, or you're thinking about it. How do you become full-time? What are the things that you need to think about to become a content entrepreneur? That was our key mission. So what is yours? And then I would also look around at either you already have a lot of this content created or start planning for it. Now with me, I started a blog in 2007 and I had a regular blog, and I was responsible to create content as part of Content Marketing Institute then 2 or 3 times a week. And I said, well, I'm already doing this. I have limited time. My time is valuable. I have lots of other things to do. I have to sell and I have to pay for things. So I can't write all the time. But when I do, I want to write for multipurpose. So I want to write this blog, and I also want to make sure maybe that could be an ultimate chapter in my book.
Yeah.
So I love the blog to book strategy. And I did that with Epic Content Marketing and Content Inc., where for 6 months I would blog basically what I thought a chapter could be. I'm fulfilling my goal for the readership at one point, and then I would edit that later to say this could be part of a compilation and take it to the next level. And by the way, if you're thinking about, oh, I can't reuse my past content for something, that's silly, because nobody ever said, I've done this 4 times and nobody ever says, I saw that blog. I saw
This
that post.
chapter of blog post, Joe.
It's like, you can't do it. It's like, oh yeah, you can. So anyways, I would say, so start with the plan of whatever the so it's e-newsletter, a blog, YouTube, Instagram, whatever it is, whatever that content is you do, then you could start taking that and put that in over 6 months. If you do that, you say every couple weeks, or every let's say 2 times a week, you have 1 or 2 chapters in 6 months, you'll have 75% of a book. And you're ready to go. And you're like, oh, that was a lot easier because you're planning for it.
Yeah.
So that's my 2 pieces of advice. Figure out that thing, your special sauce, your content tilt, whatever you want to call it. And then start planning for that now, so that in 6 months, you have a good portion of that book. And then you can bring it together into one amazing book experience.
I think that's really fantastic advice. And the thing is if you're serious about having a thought leadership platform, you've already defined, what you want to be known for. You've already been figuring out all the different ways you can get your message out there. And so you've probably you've done speaking engagements, you've done podcast interviews, you have all these places where you've been really figuring out your messaging and trying it out on people, seeing what people care about, seeing what questions they ask you. So
right.
To me, it really becomes this obvious kind of next step where you bring it all together and really kind of refine what you've been talking about. It shouldn't usually come completely out of left field, unless you're somebody who creates those kinds of books.
Well, no, you're right. You're right. I mean, you could say, if my content mission, my content marketing mission, my editorial mission, whatever you want to call it, if that was a book, what would it be? There it is. You have it. So it's the epitome of, it's the manifestation of all the work you've been doing already with your audience, and boom, there you have the physical book. And lo and behold, here we are. Books have been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, and people still want to read books in that format. So why not give your customers something they want?
I love it. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us today. And I hope that you've inspired a bunch of folks to, get out there and dust off those notebooks, or open up the Word document and just get started. Because I feel like now it's easier than ever to just do it. As
That's
Brian
right.
Fanzo would say, just do it.
Absolutely. Just make it happen, make it part of the strategy. And then lo and behold, before you know it, you'll have yourself a manuscript.
Love it. Joe, folks want more information about Tilt Publishing. Where should they head?
Oh, so thetilt.com, it has the newsletter, of course, but it has the different options for if you want to go down that path. And even if you have any questions, please reach out to me directly. You can find all my stuff on joepulizzi.com, and hopefully I'm fairly accessible, but happy to answer questions. It can be a little bit daunting at first, but once you kind of go through the process, you're like, oh, it is not as difficult as I thought it was going to be going through this, and happy to help. I'm trying to bring more authors into the world. So if we can do that, then I'll be successful.
That's fantastic.
Awesome.
Well, thanks again. And everybody, we'll see you next Monday for Content Chat. Bye, guys.